The year is 1918 and local poet and historian Ammon Wrigley has just published his work on Saddleworth and its prehistoric remains. In it, he discusses his many walks around Saddleworth and the moors and his search for Saddleworth's lost burial mounds. Across many of these sites, flint, ash, and in some cases, weapons and pottery had been found. Saddleworth's history dates back to a time when hunters and gatherers roamed. Before being occupied by the Romans, ancient tribes lived, hunted, and died there. There are 3 confirmed burial mounds across Saddleworth, but Wrigley believed that there was more to be found. He dedicated much of his life to exploring the moors and searching for what he believed was Saddleworth's ancient past. He journaled his work in local articles and his later to be published book. Now, upon reading this book, I became interested in one site in particular, and that was Broadhead Noddle. Now, Broadhead Noddle is a hill that sits just on the shoulder of Castleshaw Valley. It overlooks the Roman fort. It is in close proximity to 2 of the 3 confirmed burial mounds, and those are at Hilltop and at Jackson's Barrow. Now, close by, there's also been numerous flint findings, both slightly to the north at Redicon Valley in Denshaw, and then closer at Cupwith Valley. Now, what's important to know is in this book, Wrigley points out that Broadhead Noddle, to his knowledge, has never been fully examined, and in the 100 years plus since his book was published, I can find no traces of any further work at the site either. So it appears there's been no formal investigation at the hill. On Broadhead Noddle, Wrigley wrote the following. In the summer of 1908, I partially explored a bell-shaped mound on the eastern shoulder of this hill. It was 60 feet in circumference and just over 3 feet in height at the middle. It must be remembered that it's not far from Lowgate, a significant place name. The exploration revealed strong evidence of fire and also a substance resembling wet chalk. This was later identified as a type of white marl that was often used in pottery. He later goes on to state that around 6 months later he found several traces of flint. He also discovered a smaller mound to the west, just a few yards away, showing a depression from the eastern side to the middle, suggesting that it had been opened and rifled at some period. Now, from the above passages, there are a few key points of note. The first is that Wrigley suspected 2 mounds upon the hill. Another interesting point is his reference to Lowgate. If we break the name down, Low finds its roots in Anglo-Saxon. It's derived from the Old English word Low, meaning hill or mound, and it is often used in place names where there is burial mounds close by. Findings of flint are also telling. It suggests that ancient humans were active here. Now, Wrigley's writings remain, as far as my knowledge, the only written source on Broadhead Noddle, but by using modern technology, particularly Lidar and satellite, I was able to pinpoint what I suspect to be the exact point on the hill that Wrigley was talking about. Now, his description of 2 mounds within close proximity of each other is quite telling, and Lidar scans of the hill reveal these 2 shapes match his description perfectly. Now, when I myself investigated the site, only the depressed mound was visible. I couldn't see either at eye level or at drone the bell-shaped mound that he discussed. Now, this leads to 2 possible reasons. The first is that due to the time of the year, the grass was thick and possibly would have made any potential shapes difficult to see. Now, the second is slightly more depressing, and that is that the bell-shaped mound had since been destroyed. Now, this could be either through land work or natural erosion. And earlier in the year, the hills were subject to a wildfire that blazed across the hilltops, stripping away at the grass. Now, on my first visit, the grass had torn away in parts to reveal what looked like possible curbstones, which are a feature used frequently in the building of burial mounds. So what we are left with is potentially one of Saddleworth's lost burial mounds, which Wrigley suspected at the time, but perhaps lacked the modern technology such as Lidar scanning, drones and satellite images to further prove his argument. Now, there are thousands of landmarks being discovered across the UK each year by hobbyists and enthusiasts flying their drones, looking at satellites and finding these, odd shapes in the ground that are later uncovered to be ancient sites, burial mounds, stone circles. And it just highlights how much access we have to views that we'd never had before. However, if the bell-shaped mound has eroded and is lost, then it just shows that these sites face a race against time. With the changing of the temperatures, moorlands such as Saddleworth are increased in risk to wildfires. These fires can destroy archaeological sites before they've even been discovered. Now, Ammon Wrigley believed that there was more of Saddleworth's ancient past to be found, buried beneath the peat. And if that is the case, then time is running out. Thanks again for watching. If you liked it, please like, share and subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts below.